This is Cooper with FedRetirementPlanning.com, the website that's making your retirement system simple. And today I'm going to talk about 10 things that you should not do with your thrift savings plan. The thrift savings plan is one of the largest, if not the largest, employer-sponsored plans in the entire world. It's not just the US. There's so many people in it, and because there's so many people in it, there's a lot of mistakes that I see that are being made in their TSP, not just in the early parts of their career, but also when they retire and things like that. So these are 10 things that I think you should not do, you should avoid, along with some things that I think you should do in relation to your thrift savings plan. The first thing that you should not do with your thrift savings plan is not invest at all. This is very basic, but I can't tell you how many people I meet have not put any money into their thrift savings plan. If you want to retire and live on anything besides your Social Security check, besides your federal pension, it's important that you contribute to your thrift savings plan, not just when you get later into your career, but early. So the first thing you should not do is not invest in your TSP. Second thing you shouldn't do is not contribute more than the match, okay? Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of contributing more than 5%, but that being said, you should still be contributing to your retirement plans, whether that's in the TSP or whether that's in an IRA outside the system. Most likely, I would probably recommend, not for everybody, but it depends on your situation, a Roth IRA, because a Roth IRA is quite a bit different from the Roth TSP. If you want to check out an article I've done on that, you can click on this part of the screen, it'll take you to the article. But you should be investing more than just 5%. You can do that in the TSP, but I think there's some better options outside, such as a Roth IRA. The third big no-no, and one that I think is the biggest federal employee mistake when it comes to retirement, is not investing at all in the TSP and not taking advantage of that match. You know, you need to take advantage of that 5% match all the way up to the 5%. So you don't want to just invest the 1%. You don't want to just invest 2%. You need to be investing 5% into your TSP. Now, do some things need to come before that? Most likely, things like creating an emergency fund, things like that, but not taking advantage of that 5% match that you receive for free, by the way, that's just something they give you as a benefit, is a big mistake. The fourth thing you should not do in relation to the thrift savings plan is not invest entirely in the G fund. Granted, I understand many of you want safety. You know, maybe you experienced some of the downturns in 2008 and you're thinking to yourself, you know, I never want to experience that again. And I understand, but here's the thing. Many more of you are trying to retire sooner than generations past. And if you want to retire at the age that you'd like to retire, you're going to have to earn a rate of interest on your TSP that's higher than what you're earning in the G fund, which is around 1, 2, 3%. Okay, so if you want to retire early or just live a comfortable life in retirement, you've got to earn a little bit of rate of interest, so you're going to have to take a little bit more risk. Now, that doesn't mean put it all into the S fund or all into the I fund, but you know, you should be diversifying, at least most of you, outside of the G fund. That way you can actually have some money in your TSP when you retire besides just what you've contributed. The fifth thing that I see be a big issue, and I don't think you should do, is not seek professional help with your thrift savings plan. Okay, you can get professional help from a financial advisor or somebody that's specific to the TSP or federal employees that can help you decide on allocations, decide on how to invest based upon your risk tolerance, decide on an investment strategy, and you can do it for, you know, fairly cheap. Not everybody just works with the wealthy. Okay, so don't think that you can't afford to seek out somebody, because the thing is, if you get help from somebody, it may cost you in the short term, but in the long term, I can almost guarantee you will have more satisfaction in your investments simply because you're going to know what you're investing in. The sixth thing you should not do kind of relates to the previous one, but you shouldn't just get investment advice from your coworkers. I guess the same would be said from your uncle who invested in Walmart before it started. Okay? Those are not professionals. They don't deal on a day-to-day basis on the TSP. Sure, they may have had some short-term positive returns, but that being said, they're not going to give you always the best advice. It may work for them, and maybe they met with an advisor that told them to invest a certain way. That's fine, but everybody has a unique situation. So going with somebody who is very conservative when you're a much more aggressive investor and investing in the same funds isn't a good way to do things, okay? So, limit the amount of advice that you're taking from your coworkers. The seventh thing that you should not do is not review your TSP consistently. Things change in the TSP, okay? It's not always the same. There's a possibility that funds could come in. There's a possibility that expense ratios will increase. There's a possibility that different companies will come into the different funds. These are things that you need to be aware of, and so I'm not necessarily telling you to look at it on a day-to-day basis, but you need to be at least looking at it on a regular basis, maybe once a month, once every couple of months, understanding where you're at and where you want to go, and that's one thing that I would suggest. The eighth thing you should not do is borrow from your TSP. Taking a TSP loan is an awful idea, okay? One, you're taking that money out so it's not earning any other money. And two, if you take that out and don't pay it off in a certain amount of time, you're actually gonna get penalties, okay? So you could be subject to a 10% penalty required by the IRS if you take a premature distribution. Okay, so a TSP loan, I've met with many people who have taken TSP loans and they almost always wish they wouldn't have done it. Okay, so instead, build up that emergency fund that I always talk about. That way you're prepared in case something happens. The ninth thing that you shouldn't do with your TSP is what I like to call day trading, or trying to time the market with your TSP. Okay, if you're not a professional investor, you should not be day trading. You should not be trying to go in and out, timing the market. It's like catching a falling knife. You never know when the market's gonna drop. You never know when it's gonna drop, where it's gonna drop, everything like that. So you need to be careful, okay? Stick to a plan, work with an advisor, somebody that you can trust to put a plan together, put a strategy together, and stick to it. The 10th and final thing that you should not do with your TSP is make bad decisions with your TSP once you leave your job. So if you were a previous federal employee or you're gonna move to a non-federal employee job in the future, you need to understand that you don't have to keep your money in the TSP. You can move it into something like an IRA where you'll have more options. When you retire, you can move it into an IRA where you have more withdrawal options, more investing options, things like that. So don't make bad decisions. Don't decide to just leave it in the TSP just because you used to contribute to the TSP. You don't have to leave it in there. But this has been Cooper with FedRetirementPlanning.com, making your complex retirement system simple. If you have any questions or have any comments relating to this video, feel free to put it in the comments section. I'd appreciate a like and a share if you don't mind, just so we can get this out to more people, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.